thank you all of you to be there for this next session. My session will be mostly a discussion about how to handle the change from Outlook to Teams and how to reinvent the way we work. In a few words, I am based in Paris. I am an enterprise solution architect, and I mostly help my customers to build some really useful business solution using Microsoft 365 toolset. I love to be speaker and organizer of international events, community event like this one. So it's a great pleasure to be there today. I have founded with several other guys AOS community, which has been renamed AMS community recently for Azure, Microsoft 365 and SharePoint. And under this brand, we organize several events worldwide. You can follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn, for example. And I have been awarded by Microsoft 10 times Microsoft MVP. So it's a great pleasure to be there. My first question, if you can reach the chat and put some words in it, is are you mostly working on the IT part of the organization, or are you working on the business part? Why I love to ask this question is first to better know the audience, but definitely I like to emphasize the fact that you can't be successful in any Microsoft 365 project without a discussion, without creating a discussion between IT and business. Because if it's only an IT managed project, then you will probably miss some key business factors or key business interest. And on the other side, if it's only a business-driven project, probably will get some trouble with some technical stuff. So definitely, you need to have this discussion between IT and business. I know it's not always easy, but it's the way you should go to be successful in this area. So let's go first to our topic. Most of people, when you speak about Outlook, Teams, you say, hello, Teams is a new tool in the toolset, and it will probably change the way you work. People tend to think about it like that. Okay, you have Outlook now, and tomorrow or today or even tomorrow we will use Teams, and it will be something like an easy path going from one to the other. In fact, definitely this is not at all the case. And for most of us, it will probably more look like that. That is to say that it's not an easy path to go from Outlook to Teams. And probably this picture is not accurate enough as well, because it's probably not the idea to remove Outlook and to go to Teams, but it's probably to create some cohabitation and to better know when to use Outlook and when to use Teams. So this will be the discussion of this session. First, I want to put everything in perspective. And as you know, Outlook and Teams are part of a bigger ecosystem, Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And Microsoft 365 is definitely some very cool internet services. You can join on a specific URL, and you have some example on this slide. But it's also connected to your PC. Here, for example, we have a Surface tablet, but definitely any PC can work with this. And definitely with the Microsoft 365 bundle, Microsoft is promoting the use of Windows 10, of course. And you also should think about reaching these services directly from your phone. And this is the third part of the Microsoft 365 toolset, which because almost every service has a an app on iOS and Android. So this is the whole ecosystem. But the question that can arise, and that some, if not all, of our customers ask, is to do what? To do what? In fact, we can say there are mostly 5 big usage for Microsoft 365. The first one is personal productivity. You definitely get great tools to manage your own productivity. The second big topic is document and knowledge management. And the third and fourth are communication and collaboration. Let's focus a few seconds on these 2 very important usage of the toolset. In English and in French as well, communication and collaboration are very similar words. And you usually, if you don't think, you take the time to think about it, you can have the feeling that it's almost the same. But in fact, communication is very different from collaboration. I love the picture with the speaker loader. Communication is like sending a message to another people, or to another person, or to several people, or to the whole company, or you can even communicate with people outside your company. So it's you can keep in mind that communication is mostly sending a message, where collaboration is a very different, because collaboration is more creating together something or working together as a group of people on a specific project, on a specific topic. So it definitely needs great communication between the people inside the group willing to collaborate, but it's much more creating something and working on something together. So we will come back to this, but you should always think about communication and collaboration as being very different in their objective. And so it will imply to use some different tools, or in the same tools like Teams, different part of the tools. Last but not least, usage is definitely a business process, which is much more connected to per platform. And this is as well a very hot topic nowadays. So if we think about all this usage and all the tools we have in Microsoft 365, we can put everything in one slide like that. In fact, we have 3 levels of tools: the tools for me, the tools for we as a group, and the tools dedicated to us as a company or as an organization. And very quickly, because this is not the central topic of this presentation, but very quickly, I can put all the tools in separated by usage in these 3 multiplied by 5 categories or Ks. So personal productivity, I have great tools like to manage my contact, to manage my to-do list, to manage my calendar. In document and knowledge management, it's relatively easy, because in this area, I have only the choice between OneDrive for my documents or SharePoint for the documents of a group of people. Microsoft List is somewhere between personal productivity and group productivity, between knowledge management, not document, but knowledge management and things like that. So, communication is a great place in Office 365 because we have a very rich set of tools. If we think about just a little about what is emailing and what is messaging system like Outlook, definitely we can see it as a communication tool, and we should see it as a communication tools, but only as a communication tools. And Outlook is definitely a tool for me because my Outlook is very different from, can be very different from the Outlook from my other colleagues. It depends. Each people can organize this, for example, these folders in very different way. Some people like to sort all the message, others want to manage them into folders and put them in different folders. So definitely Outlook is a communication tools dedicated for each people. Where, and we will see that in a few minutes, Teams is more a tools designed to handle the group as a whole and to communicate with a whole group of people, and we will see that again in the collaboration part. In the communication part of communication tools we have to communicate to the whole company, we can think as SharePoint, because SharePoint is as well a great tool to create some communication sites. We can think about Stream to communicate by video, and Yammer is definitely a great way to communicate to the whole company. Collaboration tools is easy as well. This category is very clear nowadays in the Microsoft 365 rules toolset, and Teams is definitely the tools for collaborating as a group of people, and me as a team, me as a project member or things like that. Team can be completed with planner and whiteboard to create some specific dedicated dashboard for the team, but definitely the collaboration tool is Teams. And this is interesting because Teams is as well categorized as a communication tool and as a collaboration tool. And this is what makes Teams a very unique tool in the tool set, and probably the most important tool nowadays. Collaboration, if we think about the well-known standard Office tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, we can think all of them are mostly collaboration tools, but for me first. So, for example, when you think about how you create a document in Word or in PowerPoint, probably you start, most of the time, you start alone as a creator of the document, and then you can have the opportunity to share it with your coworkers. So this is definitely a good categorization to put Office tools in the collaboration tools, but usable, mostly dedicated to me usage. As I said, last but not least, business process are the realm of Power Platform. But so this is the main part of our discussion, the central tools we can have nowadays on Microsoft 365. And we will speak about Teams, about Outlook, and somehow about SharePoint, because as you know, all documents you put in Teams are in real put in the SharePoint space. Microsoft has introduced Microsoft Viva, which are a set of tools. Most of them can be categorized as personal tools for the company to help people in the company to grow their learning path, for example, or to grow their knowledge of the company topics. If we think about Microsoft topics, Viva topics. So definitely Microsoft is increasing the tool set in very interesting way. We will probably have more on this in the future. I have a quick question for how many years have you been using an email system like Outlook or any other? And if we think about this question, usually it's a little bit hard to remember when, because it was a long time ago, probably. And if we go to Wikipedia, for example, we can see that electronic email was created something like 50 years ago. Yes, 50 years ago. That's not very, that's a little bit old nowadays. And Outlook has been created before the the year 20,000. So that is to say that email and emailing are very old tools nowadays. And sometimes here I have just a screen copy of a TV show saying nowadays we have a lot of mail addicts in companies, in several companies. And here we are today. Probably we use email too much for too many usage. That's why I wanted to show you the previous slide, because I think most of the problem coming from email being used too much is that people are trying to use email for some usage they are not designed for. And for example, they sometimes use email for collaboration, which is a very bad idea. Because if we think how email is handled and how, for example, document attachment is handled in email, it will be a very big mess very quickly if you try to collaborate with email. For example, when you send an email with an attachment to 10 persons, you should always think that you are duplicating your file 10 times. So sometimes you get a very big number of email like that in your inbox. So the question is, what can I do to organize my inbox and to handle my email? I think this is the first step we should definitely have before going new tools like Teams or any other. Because if you have already too many emails, it will be a problem communicating with another tool. So as I said, email and emailing system are definitely a personal or a very individual tool, and each people want to organize his inbox the way they want. And as a company, you can't say, okay, you should organize your inbox this way and this way. So it's a little bit difficult to give some rules about that. But what can I do is to explain how me as an IT guy or as a key user, I organize my inbox, and it can help people to have some good insight about what they can do. So my first way to organize my inbox is to create some rules on different folders and subfolders in order to categorize very quickly and easily and automatically categorize different type of email I receive. Because if you think about it, this is one of the big problem we have with email. Everything is coming to your inbox by default. So first, you should use rules. This is my recommendation, very strong recommendation, to create some rules, to have an inbox like that, separated. For example, the first rule you can create is creating a subfolder in your inbox to manage all your invitation to meeting requests and the answer of all the meeting requests you send. Second subfolder you can create is all the files, all the email you are just in copy, because if you are in copy of these emails, this means probably that these are not very important or no direct action is required from you. Then I have created another subfolder for Abalone, which is my own company. And then I receive in a specific space all the emails coming from inside of my company. And then in the classic inbox, I only there is only remaining external email coming where I am directly in destination in the two part of the email. So this probably means that these are very important email, at least email that I should answer very quickly, because they are coming from customers, for example, or from outside of the company. This is inspired by Scott Anselman blog post. You can find the link in the slide. Second recommendation I give to all my customers is to create some categories and categorize your email in order to be sure not to miss very important one. So that's a sort of color coding for your email, and it can be very effective. The last but not least important thing to say to your to your user is not to stay connected permanently. By default, as I said, emailing and inbox is a single channel communication, and this is part of the problem. Documents are mixed with messages. Messages are of all sorts, with some of them with attached document, with files. And very important thing, you don't have the same view of your inbox than your colleagues. So if you are working on the same project, you should always be aware that you don't have the exact vision or the same vision if you manage that with email. In Teams, it's definitely very different because, as you know, in Teams, you have the notion of team. And in a team, every member of the team see all the channel, except private channel, which is an exception, but by default, everybody see all the channels. And you have, we can see it on the previous slide, we have all the notification sorted by the channel. And for example, here we can see that we have one new message in finance and one new message in promotion. And we are tagged in this message, which is very easy to see on this screen. So by default, Teams is creating a multi-channel collaboration space, and then every project or every team has a specific inbox where you can find all the messages, and you have another space for documents. So very important thing, everybody has the same view on the same project if they are members of the same project. Another big difference between Outlook and Teams in a usual email is very full of unuseful information, where a usual message in Teams can be very short, or at least shorter than in email, and you don't need to put your all information like where you are, your phone number, and things like that in Teams. So that's very much more effective. Another interesting thing is how you can handle documents. As I already said in Outlook, an attachment, if it's a hard attachment, then it's duplicating the file to all the receiver, which is very bad from a collaboration perspective. In Teams, the perspective is totally reversed. You put the document in the team, and then you can even comment directly on the document, as you can see on the screenshot here. And all the people and all the comments are coming right just attached to the document, and you have only one copy of the information of the comments and of the document itself. So that's much more effective for collaboration. So if we summarize, in Outlook, everything arrives in the inbox. You must define some sort of order. You don't have a shared vision on a project. It's difficult to embark. It's a very common problem you have with email. If you think about how you can embark a new a new team member in a project where the project have already taken, for example, 6 months, have been there for 6 months. It's very difficult to send a new member all the email exchange we have seen. In Teams, it's much more easier to embark a new people or new team member. Notification on email are on all message, and connected work is not possible because by default, and it's not possible to change that. Email is asynchronous, is working asynchronously. So you send an email, but sometimes it can take a few minutes or much or more to be received by the other parts. And attachment create file duplication, which is very, very bad from a collaboration perspective. In Teams, we have a very interesting answer to all of these problems. You have only dedicated space per project or per team. You have a natural sort order created by the sender. You have one shared vision of message and docs. You have a shared message history. You can be much more precise on notification. And for example, you can use to notify someone about a specific message. So not everybody will be notified for a specific message, even if they can see it. A very important thing is that you can work connected and asynchronously as well. So depending of the stage of your project, probably when you start a project, it's much more convenient to work asynchronously. But when you are reaching some deadline, for example, you need to close a deal, or you need to send the answer to a request for proposal, then it's much more efficient to be connected and to work at several people on the proposal, directly connected on the same files. So both of these are possible with Teams. And work files are available in the team space, but clearly separated from the conversation. These are the great new feature of Teams, but will it solve everything? Definitely, I don't think so. I don't think so, especially because the tools can't do everything. And it's always people should always modify their practice and their usage and how they use the tools. And let's go further on this. What is Microsoft Teams? Microsoft Teams is defined by Microsoft itself as a hub for teamwork. Which means that we can create some collaboration space, and we will be able to collaborate on this space with different tools. In fact, we have several tools, but if we try to categorize this, we have some tools for communications, like chat, like calendar, like meeting, of course. And on the other side, but probably not clearly defined as clearly as I would like, separated in Teams. We have some very great collaboration tools like Teams and like files, mostly Teams. You can what makes Teams different? These spaces are very different because they help you to structure your collaboration. And as we said, it's a space where we will be able to put all the collaboration exchange we need to have with our team. So this is definitely the different way of thinking about Teams. Some of the tools can be useful for communication, and some other part of the tool can be used for collaboration. If we try to summarize communication in Teams, we have 3 possible levels. We have first chat. Chat can handle up to 250 people in one chat, in a text chat, but only 20 in a video chat. We have meetings. Meetings are definitely a great communication tools, and you can exchange a lot of information there. At this time, they have a max of 300 people in meetings, and on the top of the if you want to have more than 300 people, you have the live events. But as you probably know, live events, it's much more a way to communicate from one or a few number of people, like the CEO, to the whole company. So definitely the interesting part is in communication is meetings and chats. We have some limitation in chat. For example, you have no subject. You can't create. You can't put a subject in conversation, and you can only put a name in a conversation if you have more than 3 people in team. So with a colleague you are working very closely, for example, you have only one chat possible, and if you have 3, for example, 3 projects, all will be intermixed with your colleagues. So this is not a very convenient way to organize your collaboration, definitely. Meetings are very important nowadays, especially during lockdown and things like that. So here are some interesting recommendations to create an effective online presence. But this is definitely not enough to collaborate. So we should go to the team space, and you can see that on typical Teams usage. If you see that people are not doing more posts in the channel of Teams, that is because they are not really collaborating. They are much more using Teams as a communication tool. The benefits of Teams are, there are several benefits of using Teams in Teams. The first one is that you will not have any problem to know with whom you will share information document. By definition of the team, the people creating the team and the people managing the team will decide who are the members of the team, and then if you are a member of it as well, you are supposed to share the document with all the members of the team. Teams are also very useful because you can mix in the same space documents and discussion, so that's very convenient. And you can as well add some additional application that can be used to provide some additional functionalities via the tabs feature. We'll see that in a few minutes. So here is a typical Teams with channel. Channels are used to separate some discussion inside the project or inside the topics you want to speak about. And one very important thing is that with the channel conversation, you can have many at the same time and the same space and same channel. You can go from one to many conversation. And you can identify your conversation by a title. For example, here it's new channel. And so your user will be able to either reply to an already started conversation. This is the option A. Or if you want to start, or if they want to start a new conversation, option B. So definitely, this is a very interesting feature that will help to manage many conversations at the same time on the same topic or similar topic. So as I said, you can put some title, and that's a very important feature. And you can even put some bigger title, which are called announcements, to put the stress on very important topic. Here on the right, you have a screenshot of a meeting, channel meeting with an announcement, so you can mix both. This creates very important view of a new meeting and to put the stress on very important meeting. So these are my most important recommendation. You can respond to conversation, you can put title on new conversation, and even make announcement for internal promotion. We can have definitely a more diversified way to notify people. So we have activity feed, we have notification in chat, we have desktop or banner notification, and you can as well specify the level of emails notification you want to receive. So that's another great way to manage notification and much more efficient than we can do with email. In Teams, we can work together on the same file. We have seen that. So we have great features to manage coedition, to manage content, and to manage the conversation around the documents. So by default, comments are attached to your file, as we can see on the screenshot. So we have seen that there are many advantages to put conversation in channels. The big difference between chat conversation as chat and conversation in channel is that they are dedicated to a specific theme or a specific topic, and it will be much easier to find them on an historic perspective. It's very well known nowadays that conversation, if you put a document in a conversation as a chat, it will be stored in OneDrive. When you put a file in conversation in channel, it will be stored in SharePoint. So a great question I have from my customers is, okay, Teams are great, but what? What I see at every level of organization, from very small one to a very big one, I see 3 or 4 very common typical usage for team. So the first one is what we can call organization teams. For example, marketing department or HR, human resources department, need to have some space to exchange about their internal work. Any project in the company needs probably a Teams or a team space. Some projects, some big projects, probably deserve to have several teams because, as you know, there can be some different level of perspective on a project, and so you can imagine an internal project teams and an external project team, at least for very big projects. And we can think about group of interest on any topics. For example, Microsoft 365 group of people willing to share some Q&A, frequently asked question and information they have gathered about Microsoft 365. We can put that in Teams. We can think that Yammer is a very good tool to handle group of interest as well. So it depends mostly of the size of your company for the last type of team. For project teams, we definitely recommend to separate or clearly identify internal project and project teams open to external partners, because if you want to share some, I would say, confidential or you should be careful to share, not to share some confidential info with external partners. The best way to not make some mistakes is to clearly identify the difference between internal and external project teams. And last but not least, I also see a lot of customers needing some what we can call process teams that are mostly teams to exchange between two parts of the company. For example, the sales department and the finance department will probably have some exchange to manage some invoice. So we can create a team called invoicing process or things like that. And in this space, sales and finance people will be able to share the needed information. So these are most of the use case I see in my current mission in my customers. Thus, there are much more strengths using Teams, and one of them is the strength of tab. So with tabs, you can create some customization in your team. You can add, for example, a reference website. You can add a planner to manage the task of your team. You can have a Power BI dashboard, which help track some great figures and numbers. And if we think about a team dedicated to a process, then you can embed directly in your team. As in the screenshot, you can directly embed some Power Apps or any other tools that will be needed to manage the process. So here, for example, each tab can be one tab can be dedicated to one process steps. So tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, and then each one being a step in the process. Here we have a Power Apps app added to the teams. We can as well create a channel dedicated to some alerts. Some alertings can go to a specific channel in the teams, and you can. So this is a typical alert we can put here. For example, this alert was created by Power BI, and when we are reaching some numbers, this alert is auto-generated by Power Automate and posted in this alert channel. And approval channels can be a great way as well to handle some authorization. And if you need to ask an approval or reject on a specific project request, it can be pushed directly in a channel in Teams, which is much better than sending more and more email. Another great way to improve the usage of Teams is to integrate some company-wide tools like intranet, of course, but many others can be found here. And so that's mostly what I want to say about how to integrate Teams in your teamwork. But definitely, I want to end with the message that there are bridges between Outlook and Teams. I don't want to think that Teams will replace everything or will replace totally Outlook. Both tools, as I said, will have to be used at by all the people at the same time. In fact, we can think at Outlook and email as an old ecosystem with the phone, for example, for direct for synchronous communication, where Teams can handle probably at the same time synchronous and asynchronous communication and collaboration. So definitely we should think as Outlook for an old tools, which is well known nowadays, but Teams is definitely much more efficient to design to address and it is designed for that, to address the nowadays challenges. So it's like going from one ecosystem to the other. Calendar is, to my mind, the best integration we have between Teams and Outlook, because you can see, as you know, your calendar on both tools, and if you create one meeting on one side, it will show up on the other side. So that's a very great way to integrate both tools. How can a question I have very frequently from my customers is how I can manage some email to Teams. That's we have a very great new feature introduced a few weeks ago. You can now directly drag Outlook emails into Teams. So that's very easy manipulation. So you should definitely rely on it. Before that, we had a very simple steps, 3 simple steps to do. So the first one was to get the email address from the team channel. Second one was to create an email into Outlook or any email messaging, and then you can send the email directly into a channel, into your channel. They have also introduced at some point a share to teams button in Outlook. So the question is to finish, is it useful to send some information from Teams to Outlook? I would say by default, no, because we are mostly willing to send the discussion from Outlook, and they are coming, for example, from outside of the company, like a customer email. So this type of email, we want to send it to Teams and have a discussion, specific discussion into Teams. But so it's counterproductive to put some discussion back from Teams to Outlook. But in some very specific scenario, we can use the feature that Microsoft provide to send Teams message to Outlook to transfer some discussion. So let me show you on this screenshot. On every message into Teams, on the left, you have a menu. You can show on every message into Teams. You can share this message to Outlook. This will create an email to you can see on the right. And this can be used to transfer some discussion from Teams to Teams. Because if you go back to there, if you use in the two field in this email, you can send it to another channel into Teams. And this is the only way we have today to send a discussion from one channel into Teams to another channel into Teams. So that can be used in these topics. To conclude, I want to say that most of people I meet probably use only the most visible part of Teams, like chat, like meetings, but they should always be introduced to more useful or the more interesting part of Teams, which are collaboration, integration with Office 365, how to manage tasks and projects, and definitely how to customize your work hub with Tab. So this is why should we promote this usage? This is because the power of transformation is much more important when you add tabs and when you fully use the collaboration power of Teams. So your return on investment will be better in this area. If you need help, here are some cool resources. And I want to say thank you for your attention. And if